Well. This is kind of my full breakdown of the Canelo versus Crawford fight coming up on Saturday, man. This is going to be a fun fight. I actually cannot wait for this one. I'm actually a little bit excited for this one for a lot of different reasons because, you know, this is one of those chess matches that it's really going to be all about who makes the biggest mistakes will kind of pay the biggest price for it. And guys, don't forget to like and subscribe. We're going to go right into this right away. So for Crawford, there's some things that he has to do, and I really, really hope, and I know they did. I'm just speaking out loud because it's not like I'm in his fight camp, but I really hope they spent a lot of time watching the fight between Canelo and Dimitrov Bivol because Bivol did everything that Canelo actually struggles with, and not only that, but being the bigger guy cost Canelo that fight. So for one, endurance has to be 1,000. It can't even be 100. It needs to be 1,000. That's how good it just has to be because you're going to take damage. You're still going to have to get away from him. No matter how hard you hit him, he still comes after you like a zombie. He's not going to stop. He's not going to quit. And that's something that we know about Canelo. That's what he does. And, that's what breaks a lot of people to the point where he just breaks them down. So that's one thing. Number two, Canelo starts slower than most fighters. Sadly, Terence Crawford does the very same thing. But Canelo's footwork is very different than most boxers. He doesn't have the traditional boxing footwork, which is actually interesting for how long he's been doing it and being the man in boxing. I don't know why his footwork is different than most other boxers, but he has a lower punch output. That's not to say you're not going to get hurt because he's very effective and he picks his shots. He's very accurate and he knows what he wants to do. He knows how to set you up and all that stuff. So you still got to be aware of what's going on. He struggles against fighters, like I said, like Dimitrov. When these guys are moving around, he has to chase them down. These guys don't let him plant his feet. Whenever he's forced to fight these kind of fighters, the jab turns into a weapon because he can't plant his feet. He can't plan what he wants to do while moving around. I mean, he can. He's just not as good at it as if you're a punching bag standing in front of him. Counter punching becomes a serious problem for him that he has a hard time dealing with. These things become weapons that fighters use against him. Like I said, just go watch the Dimitrov fight and you'll see everything that I'm saying. But whenever fighters start to look good against Canelo, it's because they're moving. It's because they're keeping him guessing. They're not letting him plant his feet. They're counterpunching. They're jab while moving, by the way, which is not easy because if you're moving backwards and he's moving forward, that alone is tiring. Just moving backwards the entire time. That alone is extremely tiring. But this doesn't mean that any of this is easy to do. You can count how many losses, obviously, Canelo has. 2 losses, I believe. So it's not much. Dimitrov, Bivol, and Floyd Mayweather. But Terence Crawford, on the other hand, man, he's not that type of fighter. He doesn't want to run away from you. He's not going to back up for too long. He wants to be within the range. He wants to use his slick movements to get out the way. He wants to hit you and not be hit, which you got to give him respect. He has great defense. Quite impressive to watch actually when you do it. However, Terence does have some issues that Crawford can completely take advantage of, and I'm gonna go over. Yeah, Terence has issues that Canelo can take advantage of, and I'm gonna go over that right now. And for Canelo, let's be real, just be Canelo. You got the chin, you got the power, you got the speed, you got the techniques, you got everything. Okay, keep moving forward like he does in every fight. He's gonna take your best punch and still act like a zombie coming straight to you, right? Crawford tends to start slow. Same issue as Canelo. So in the beginning of this fight, it might be a little bit boring for most fans. So keep that in mind, and it might be that might be the case. But Crawford has a big problem that I noticed in his fights. He doesn't really move laterally very much. Not only that, but his head movement doesn't really move too much. It's more or less him moving his body and using slick movements, but the head movement, he doesn't really take it off the center line too much. And that's going to be a big problem against Canelo. I really hope that's something that they really drilled into his head in this fight camp. You got to move your head off the center line. You just have to. Like I said, watch the Bivol fight. You have to move your head off the center line or Canelo's going to eat you alive. It just is what it is. That's just what Canelo does. So sometimes, whenever you see Crawford doesn't respect his opponent because they can't put him in danger, he starts to get touched up a little bit, but when he respects the opponent that he's fighting, pay attention to him, man. He becomes a slicker fighter. He doesn't really get touched as much. He kind of makes it a brawl in a sense, but all benefit for him. But we're talking about Canelo. That's you can bum rush Canelo and just make him think a lot, not allow him to plant his feet and all that stuff. But Canelo's a sniper. He's gonna pick his shots. He's gonna catch you, and listen, you'll be going down. A lot of people are already trying to count out Terrence Crawford. I'm not counting him out. It's just, out of respect for Canelo, man, the experience fighting fighters that I would say are even better than Terrence Crawford, like Floyd Mayweather. And that was early on in Canelo's career. But after that Floyd Mayweather loss, the next loss for him was Dimitrov Bivol. How many fights were in the middle of that? I don't even know off the top of my head. I have to look that up. But that's how good Canelo truly is, man. This guy is a world class boxer. And not, you know what? Forget that. He's not a world class boxer. He's the best boxer right now, period. Okay? He's the guy. It is what it is. There's nothing more we can truly say about that. But this is going to be a chess match. I'm actually really curious as to who's going to make the most mistakes in this one. And if Crawford gets into danger, if he starts to get touched up, we've never really seen him have to fight adversity after getting touched up so much. You know what I mean? So once he gets into danger, once he gets hit, once he gets hurt, how is he going to respond? We don't really know. You know, um, this is a tough one. I'm not even going to pick a winner for this, but Canelo, man, when he hits you, the way boxers react, it just kind of tells you the whole story. Sometimes he hits you in places you don't even see coming. The next thing you know, you're taking a knee or you just drop, you're sitting on your ass. You don't know what happened. You just know something hit you and you don't even know where it came from. You know, Crawford can do the same thing. He doesn't have the power that puts you away, but he has that ability, kind of like Floyd. Floyd never had the power to put you away, but he breaks you down systematically. Crawford has that ability. I just don't know if he has that ability again. Canelo. In all honesty, if Canelo would have gotten a second fight with Floyd, let's say 5, 6 years after he lost to him, I don't think Floyd would have beat him. That was Canelo's prime. I think Floyd ran away from that fight. I don't know if that fight was ever offered to him, but if it was, he wouldn't have taken it. That would have been a dumb fight to take at that point. Canelo was ready to go at that point. So Canelo just being the man right now, man, this is going to be a technical fight. And Crawford, man, he knows how to score points. He knows how to win a fight. He's undefeated for a reason. You know what I mean? So I don't think this is going to be that extremely high-paced, fun fight that people are expecting to watch. I think this is going to be one of those slow, methodical, technical fights where you are watching the art of boxing at work 100%. You're not going to watch two guys try to take each other's heads off because I don't think anyone will get knocked out. If someone gets knocked out, I think it's going to be Crawford, but I don't think anyone's going to get knocked out here. I really don't. I don't expect to see that happen. This is going to go all the way through, and then it'll go down to the judges to pick a winner, and then people will talk about it after. But this is not a simple fight, man. Whether you're a Crawford fan or whether you're a Canelo fan, it doesn't matter. This is a dangerous fight for both guys, you know. But I guess on Saturday we'll find out, man. It's almost time anyway. Just 3 more days. 3 more days, and we'll know.